Well, good morning to you both. Yeah, Jeb Bush is going to be here in Raleigh today. A state judge was shot and wounded in her own driveway in Austin. 3 Islamic State militants have been detained after a hotel raid in Turkey. This is the video you see here that's at the center of this case. This is involving 2 vehicles, possibly DOT vehicles, a paint truck, and then a dump truck. Well, a tow truck just removed the dump truck, so that's one of the 2 vehicles involved. Well, if you're looking for a buffet of different music styles, the American Roots Music and Arts Festival might be right up your alley. So not only can Sadie jump up on Garner and alert him when his blood sugar is dropping dangerously low, these dogs can be trained to do a number of other things, including opening the refrigerator door to get a juice snack. So what you do is they would tie some kind of a towel around the handle. The dog would pull this open, and then the juice would be in the same spot every time. They would actually get it in their mouth to deliver it to the child. Now, some say if they had to estimate, it would be an 1,100 carat gem worth about $66 million. Maybe
Deep
Santa
pockets.
Claus will bring it, huh?
Deep pockets to pay for it and carry it. That's
Yes,
a big one.
It really was. Can you imagine that on your hand? Goodness. All right, Batman fans, you might want to consider making a trip to the Big Apple at least sometime soon, because this 1960s Batmobile is on display right now at the New York Historical Society. It's part of an exhibition called Superheroes in Gotham. This is actually one of 3 cars used in the Batman TV series. The car was used to promote the show. It is on loan right now from a New Jersey car collector.
Very shiny.
That it is.
Well
Have you gotten that theme song out of your head yet from earlier, Steve?
Yes, I did.
Is it back in there now?
Yes, it is.
Good. Okay, just checking. You're welcome. Yeah, we had this story in our last hour, and Steve said, "No, I'm not listening." But
If you didn't have it already, now it's really there.
As Anthony's reading the scripts, and hers coming up, she's setting up a story, typing on her phone, and then she just puts it down and casually reads her script.
You know, we have to
That's good.
multitask. We have to.
That's
Between
impressive.
updating viewers on Twitter, on Facebook, and then trying to set up story for later today, we're following that breaking news. So yeah, sometimes though, it must be being a mom. I think,
should
you know,
follow
it's
Right,
all
yeah, you
of
can
us.
multitask. Yeah.
Keep you up to the minute
Dads
here.
do it too. Dads multitask
I have a hard
too.
time eating breakfast and doing forecasting at the same time.
I was trying to be nice, but I was giving you benefit of the doubt.
Now
All
that
right,
you've eaten,
guys.
go ahead. Well, a minute before 9 right now on this Sunday, November the 22nd, 49 degrees and kind of overcast outside. I'm Anthony Wilson.
I'm Caitlin Canute. You know, you hear 49 degrees and think, oh, it's not so bad for a low, but this is really about as warm as it's going to get today, right?
Not going to warm up much, maybe
Yeah.
a degree or 2, and that's about it.
Thank you, Steve. Some tough talk from President Obama this morning.
That's right, the commander-in-chief vowing to destroy ISIS. His comments came overnight.
Meanwhile, Russia's counterterrorism agency says it has raided the hideout of armed militants allied with the Islamic State group. 11 of them were killed. This all happened in a northern part of the region, which recently has become fertile ground for Islamic State propaganda and recruitment. Russia has intensified its airstrikes against ISIS in retaliation for the bombing of its passenger plane in Egypt. The U.S. Embassy in Belgium this morning is urging Americans in that country to stay indoors at home. This all comes as the threat alert for Brussels is now at its highest level. Authorities in Europe say they're searching for members of the Islamic State group who might be planning more terror attacks. No band members were harmed, but one touring staff member, Nick Alexander, was shot and killed. A similar scene in Raleigh. Security ramped up at Carter Finley Stadium yesterday. Before the game, nearly 60,000 State fans faced a team of security who had the terror attacks on their minds. Details of exactly which extra measures they were taking weren't divulged to the media, but NC State did tell us they had both additional law enforcement in and outside of the stadium. They say you can expect to see the same at next week's game. Secretary of State John Kerry is returning to the Middle East today. The State Department says he'll be discussing a range of political, security, and regional issues. Syria, the Islamic State group, and the Israeli-Palestinian violence will be topping his agenda. He's scheduled to depart for Abu Dhabi later today. The fire department also released some information about another house fire. This one happened on Outlook Drive in Fayetteville yesterday. We've learned that one was actually caused by unattended cooking. The Red Cross was called in to help that family of 5. Thankfully, no injuries were reported. And a story we're following that's developing in Fayetteville this morning. Police are still searching for a man they say impersonated a police officer and then sexually assaulted the daughter of a Fort Bragg soldier. Detectives say that assault happened on Wednesday evening on Bragg Boulevard. The victim told police she was stopped by a tan or gold car that she thought looked like an unmarked police car. She told police the suspect, then posing again as a police officer, made her get out of her car and forced her into the woods where he sexually assaulted her. Authorities are now searching for a man that looks like this. They say he's white. He was last seen clean-shaven, standing about 5'7" to 5'8". He's said to be in his late 20s to early 30s with a medium build. If you know anything about this man, please call the U.S. Army Criminal Investigation Command at Fort Bragg. And then my former stomping grounds, the Midwest, really got pounded with snow this weekend. The conditions residents are faced with now as the storm's finally moving out. Nothing like that here, at least, Steve. Well, good morning, John. I just checked back in with Raleigh Police, and they say this investigation is still ongoing. In fact, look behind me. You can see detectives still here on the scene gathering clues. Let me tell you what's going on here. This is the Briar Creek here in Raleigh. So the accident that John mentioned appears to be right here at the edge of the building. You see that car there with a flashing light. It's been damaged on the front end of that car. We don't know how this is tied into the shooting, only that it has looked like this ever since it happened last night about 10:40. Take a look at some video shortly after it happened. You heard John say we were here on the scene right after it happened. We broke this news. We haven't learned much since then, though, because as of right now, we still know one person has died, one person injured, a gunman on the loose. But as for who police are looking for, what possible motive might have been involved, those are details we don't know. Police still looking into those questions, and we're waiting to have those answers passed along so we can share them with you. Now, this is a 24-hour Walmart, so the Walmart is open right now, and workers have been coming and going. But at one point last night after this happened, there were some workers on the scene. At least one person could be seen crying, so we don't know if this could have possibly involved a Walmart employee. Those employees we tried to talk to said they were unable to comment, so we're still trying to gather information and pass that along to you. Stay tuned here throughout the morning. We'll be passing along live updates every half hour, and then if anything should break, we'll definitely post that online, abc11.com, or on our mobile app. If you haven't downloaded it, this is a great time to do so to stay up to speed on breaking news like this. Reporting live from the Walmart in Briar Creek, Caitlin Canute, ABC 11 Eyewitness News. Good afternoon, Barbara. Yeah, we were hoping that we would catch a glimpse of him as he was leaving this main entrance here at the prison. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, and we weren't alone. There were also some disappointed supporters who traveled a long way for that moment. Although born in America, Jewish couple Yaron Jackson and Leah Saul now call Israel home. Back in the U.S. for a visit, they packed up their RV and made a detour to Butner. But their hopes of seeing former spy Jonathan Pollard's release were dashed when he was snuck out from the federal prison in the dark of night.
So disappointing not to see him, but the real victory and the real celebration today is just the event that he's out of prison and he's a free man.
Israeli media was the first to report Pollard's release, citing Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who said the people of Israel welcome his freedom from jail. Members of the Free Pollard campaign even released this picture showing Pollard at a location in New York earlier this morning with his wife. For Jackson and Saul, it was a move that was a long time coming.
He did a crime and he deserved to serve some time, but he was really made an example of and served way more time for doing a crime that really didn't hurt anybody. He was helping allies in a way that would not hurt the United States.
Critics, however, disagree, calling the former naval intelligence analyst a traitor who sold out his country. Well, we know that the limitations of his parole right now include staying off the internet, wearing a GPS tracking device, and staying in the country for the next 5 years. He is already challenging those conditions in court in New York. Reporting live in Butner, Caitlin Canute, ABC 11 Eyewitness News. Barbara, back to you. 33-year-old DJ Svoboda is a talented artist with a flair for drawing colorful cartoon characters. Something else that makes him unique? He's autistic. It's this combination of skill and life experiences that led to his creation of what he calls the Imagifriends.
They teach great lessons such as teamwork, kindness, friendship, lending a helping hand.
Through these characters, DJ preaches a message of acceptance when it comes to dealing with others, especially those faced with a disability.
When I do the art, I can picture them really helping the world to understand more about autism, to understand that everybody is special the way they are.
DJ not only draws and sells his artwork and stories, he also speaks at conferences throughout the state.
DJ is able to share his gift with our community as well as the community at large, and he's a great ambassador for what it's like to have autism.
Unfortunately, part of growing up autistic meant DJ was at times exposed to bullying. That's why he's so passionate now about educating people to think twice before judging or teasing others.
Those with autism sometimes can't tell you or explain to you how they feel, and they express their feelings and show their feelings differently.
And as David Laxton with the Autism Society of North Carolina stresses, not everyone with autism is as verbal and outgoing as DJ.
Each person is different, and you have to look at everybody as an individual.
It's something DJ recommends as well, pointing to his favorite character, the Mupperesmo, who reminds us that we all see the world from our own unique point of view. In Raleigh, Caitlin Canute, ABC 11 Eyewitness News. 33-year-old DJ Svoboda is a talented artist with a flair for drawing colorful cartoon characters. Something else that makes him unique? He's autistic. It's this combination of skill and life experiences that led to his creation of what he calls the Imagifriends.
They teach great lessons such as teamwork, kindness, friendship, lending a helping hand.
Through these characters, DJ preaches a message of acceptance when it comes to dealing with others, especially those faced with a disability.
When I do the art, I can picture them really helping the world to understand more about autism, to understand that everybody is special the way they are.
DJ not only draws and sells his artwork and stories, he also speaks at conferences throughout the state.
DJ is able to share his gift with our community as well as the community at large, and he's a great ambassador for what it's like to have autism.
Unfortunately, part of growing up autistic meant DJ was at times exposed to bullying. That's why he's so passionate now about educating people to think twice before judging or teasing others.
Those with autism sometimes can't tell you or explain to you how they feel, and they express their feelings and show their feelings differently.
And as David Laxton with the Autism Society of North Carolina stresses, not everyone with autism is as verbal and outgoing as DJ.
Each person is different, and you have to look at everybody as an individual.
It's something DJ recommends as well, pointing to his favorite character, the Mupperesmo, who reminds us that we all see the world from our own unique point of view. In Raleigh, Caitlin Canute, ABC 11 Eyewitness News.